What's up and welcome back to the channel. Connor here from McKeg Disc Golf, and I'm super excited to talk to you guys and bring you this interview with a really hot player on the Disc Golf Pro Tour right now, somebody who's absolutely caught fire in the last 12 to 18 months, really jumping up there and doing some impressive stuff. So I want to bring in our guest today for this video, Robert Burridge. Thank you so much for coming to the channel, man. I really appreciate you making time to talk to me.
No problem, man. I'm happy to be here. How's it going?
It's going good, man. It's going good. I did okay at doubles this week, so what more can you ask for? Just a local chump, you know. So I think that a lot of new people learned your name this weekend at Des Moines. People who even just very casually pay attention to the Pro Tour, they're going to notice the person who takes second place. But there's more to your disc golf career, even though you're still young, and there's some really impressive things that you've already done in your disc golf career that I kind of wanted to go back and talk about that a little bit, talk about where you kind of started out with your athletic career in general. So could you tell me a little bit? I see there's two different towns on your online presence, Ann Arbor and Houston. So one the birthplace, one the hometown.
So I grew up the first 6 years of my life in Atlanta, and then I moved to Houston until the end of high school. So really, I consider Houston my hometown. I have all my friends, or basically all my friends in Houston. It really, it's where I sort of made my start in disc golf in sports, really. And Ann Arbor is where I go to college, and it's, I played for the Ultimate team at the University of Michigan. I have a ton of friends on Magnum Ultimate. I joined the disc golf team. I have a ton of friends on that too, and it's where I sort of honed my skills, I guess, to become the player that I am today.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I know what it feels like to go to college and then find that new hometown. That's what Rochester feels like to me, and finding that community, it means a ton. And if you look at your PDGA, your disc golf history only goes back to 2017, but from what I've heard, your disc golf or your disc history period goes back way further than that. So I know that you were talking on the Nick and Matt show about going to the Ultimate World Championships with your mom. Can you tell me a little bit about that early exposure to disc flight?
So back when I was really young, my mom and my dad still both played Ultimate very, very seriously. As my sister and I grew up, I think they had less opportunity for that. But going out and really, my dad used to take me to pickup. I used to go to tournaments with my mom because she got invited to Masters Worlds, to nationals type stuff, to reunions. And really being part of that culture meant a lot to me and really made an impact because they do have such a big spirit of the game. I don't know if you've heard that term before, sort of mentality,
absolutely.
Where, you always try to make the fair call, make the right call, even if it doesn't benefit you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I recognize that phrase mostly from Ultimate, but I know that carries through disc golf as well. I feel like the phrase itself is used a lot in Ultimate. Yeah. So your roots in Houston, then you say you went through high school in Houston. That must be Clear Lake High School. Am I right with that?
Clear Lake High School.
The Falcons, and you played soccer and cross country.
Yes.
Mostly the soccer, right?
Soccer. I was on varsity soccer for 4 years. I was on club soccer for a very long time. And really that was my life up until 2017, or even college started, was soccer was the main thing I was doing.
Yeah, I find that very relatable. You posted something comparing the ecstasy and the emotion of making these putts at Des Moines and kind of putting on that show, and you compared it to the feelings you got on the soccer field in high school. Were you guys pretty successful? Were you getting up and playing some championship games, or was it just I also know you scored a few goals. I believe you played right up there at the front playing striker.
So I think what position I played is a long story. I think I sort of I played goalie, then I sort of played defender, midfield, striker, winger, out, and then like win my way back to center back again. Um, but really, I was a utility player. Wherever you needed me, I could play because I played everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we weren't, at least my school team, we weren't really the top team. My first year, I think we got sixth out of eight district teams. You know, my sophomore year, we got fifth, I think, maybe sixth, which took us just out of playoffs.
Mm.
My junior year, we also got like sixth-ish. But my senior year, me and a couple other guys who were also club players really took it upon ourselves to make the team as good as we possibly could, and we ended up winning the district, going to the playoffs. And those pictures are from our one and only playoff game, where I think that was the only goal that our team scored was that photo, and it was me scoring a free kick, and it was just the moment of pure ecstasy right after I saw it go in the net. It was just, you know, I thank the team and the coaches for really building me to the person I am.
Yeah, I think that having the early background in sports, it really like, I find it interesting because I played a lot of team sports in high school, and so now being a disc golfer, it's kind of the first time I've gotten into the individual sport aspect. But you know, it's funny how familiar this sounds to me. I mean, I had my own moments on the soccer field with those moments of ecstasy, but you know, I was actually a goalie too, and so there were a couple times where, you know, same game, same situation, and I am not the one kicking. I am the one getting beat. So it's those kind of things. I think when you have a team around you, the emotions are so amplified. Like an individual sport, like disc golf, you've got really high highs, really low lows, but with a team, it's like everybody's with you at the same time, and so those highs are just blown up, and the lows are kind of like even deeper.
With that point, you know, it's really important, and especially in individual sport like disc golf, to have that support system, so that when something doesn't go your way, you still have, you know, the support around you. Because if you're dealing with it alone, it's just going to be that much worse.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I like where your head's at when it comes to this. I think that what's coming through to me is that, you know, your kind of cool, collected demeanor must help you on the course in terms of keeping the emotions in check.
I definitely, I think I try to definitely be sort of calm, collected on the course. You know, emotions, when not kept in check, don't necessarily help you.
Right.
You know, because if you get too amplified, you might put too much power on a shot. You might overthrow something. Really being able to sort of check yourself and be in the moment is such a big thing to be able to do.
Yeah, and you've learned to control it really well. I'm gonna kind of rewind again. I want to zoom in more on the disc golf now. I mean, your PDGA history goes back to 2017, and I believe that's the same year you moved up to Ann Arbor to go to Michigan. And your first wins, I think I was looking at you on Statmando, and I think there's some really I think there's an interesting point in your disc golf career fairly recently that kind of shows that you're here to stay, and that you're not done. And so I want to go all the way back to your first wins, period. Not an MPO wins, but talking about the 4TCDG Baytown Boomtown, something like that. January in 2019. I mean, where did that take place? How are you able to get your first win in January? I hope it wasn't in Michigan.
No, it was back in Texas. I believe it was my first. It was intermediate. That was my first advanced win. I remember that very clearly. I think I ended up winning it, and I had a very. Was it my first MA?
Actually,
I think
it was your
I think
first win, and it was in MA2.
that was my MA2 win
What
based on
sticks out to me
Boomtown.
about that is that it normally does not take averaging 1,002 to win the MA2 division, but you won by 6 strokes by shooting 1,002 average. That's a pretty dang impressive score to lay down. I can't imagine the chance of Sandbagger that came after you shoot 1,000 rated in MA2.
Man, I I had some chance of that for a few years before I turned pro, for a few reasons. But Baytown Boomtown was my first MA2 win. That was at Evergreen Disc Golf Course, a course that no longer exists here in Houston. It was the site of 2017 Texas States, I believe, where Ricky Wysocki shot 17 down.
Wow, and that was actually if that was the first time or first tournament you ever played, right? Was that the same course at the Evergreen Flyways Flex? You came a long way between your first rated round and then your next worst. I mean, that first rated round you laid down was a 779.
Yep.
But
I was
then
rated that for a bit.
since then, you've never thrown a rated round or you haven't had a tournament average. I can't remember which I looked up under 900. Then it jumps straight from 779 to 915. So you definitely raised the bar, and then your first MA1 win came at the Jax Brooks Open 5 months later,
That's right.
averaging 982 golf, winning by 4 strokes.
Mm-hmm.
That was a C tier. You won your first B tier. Stop me if I'm wrong about any of this, and if I am, blame Statman Dow.
It
But
sounds about right.
you won your first B tier at the Alvin Charity Open, March 2020,
Yep.
averaging
That's right.
970, winning by 5. And then also the NADGT event, Lumberton,
Yes.
3 months later.
Won that as well.
So that was, I believe, was it a qualifier or was it like a playoff thing for the NADGT National Championships?
It was a qualifier to get into the NADGT for that year. And I don't know if I don't think I was able to go that year even. But
It looks like you may have been able to quiet the chance of Sandbagger at the NADGT National Championships, though. When you took 8th and you finally took your first cash.
yeah, I definitely I think people were finally happy to see me out of that division because I think I won multiple tournaments in a row, in MA1 up in Michigan, as well as in Texas, sort of continuing along, trying to go play amateur nationals, play amateur worlds before I went pro, and I had a lot of chance of why don't you go pro already? Why don't you just get out of here already? You're obviously good enough. But I think I stand by the way I did it, because it led me to where I am now, and learning how to win and deal with pressure is a big thing in this sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think learning how to win is underrated, and there shouldn't be any shame in, denying that cash so that you can build your amateur career, because, there's events now that allow you to do that. But as far as I can tell, that event, the Lumberton qualifier, it looks to me like that kind of shows the end of the early trend of Robert Burridge, because after that, things seem to get pretty serious pretty quickly. We're talking about winning the Southern Michigan Open in March 2021, averaging 1,002, winning by 8. Your highest rated round ever was the following weekend, 1074, where you crushed the MA1 field by 17 strokes.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
When you shoot 1074, everybody else just needs to get out of the way.
So that tournament, I actually started that round with an ace, and I went 7 down through 6 and 9 down through 9, I think.
That's incredible.
And everyone on my card was just looking at me like, "What did you just do?"
What are you doing here? That's incredible, man. First round, first hole, just throwing it in.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I think at the end of that, if I had played the pro division, I would have won by a stroke.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
Bringing those chants right back. And actually, I think I
oh yeah.
misspoke. You won the Southern Michigan Open in March. You then got your first MPO win at the Mayflower Open in
Hmm.
May, and actually the following weekend after that is when you shot your 1074. So cleanly into the MPO. Moving on past MA1 since May, and then we're talking majors. The U.S. Amateur Championship, averaging 1029 golf, winning by 7 strokes.
Yes, after I shot seven down the first round, then four down, three down, and I met a lot of cool people. I had a lot of people wishing me the best, and that was a great experience. Over at Toboggan, which was only 30 minutes from where I was living. So it was, basically my backyard, and I felt very comfortable on the course with every shot.
That's a pretty unique situation where it's not a permanent course hosting an event like that. Were you able to get enough practice rounds on it? Did they set it up well in advance?
Yeah, they set it up probably a week or two in advance, maybe more, and so I got a lot of. I think I was there almost like every day leading up to the event, except for the day before, and I was just out there playing, 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 and it really did, you know, help me in my game plan because I got to practice every shot multiple times and really, learn the spots, learn where I need to land, and just play my game when it came up to it.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely paid off. You took down the USAM champs, and then just 2 months later, you're at Amateur Worlds competing for first place, ending up taking second.
Yeah,
What was that like? I mean, that's just a whirlwind right there. The U.S. Amateur Championships, amateur version of U.S. DGC, then going straight to Worlds and Worlds. What a whirlwind.
definitely. The After winning amateur nationals, I think I was the highest rated player in the field, so it was kind of like people sort of expected it, but they were also like, can he actually like play with the extra added pressure? And it was a similar thing at Worlds, and the Worlds courses were not admittedly the best for me or my game. They were very birdie or die almost, and I tend to not do amazing on straight birdie or die courses. Um, but it was great, playing with Evan almost every round of Evan taking first, of course. Almost every round of Worlds was amazing. I see him on tour now. We played a practice round before Des Moines, day before. So really, grew that relationship, and I'm happy to call him a friend going forward.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You gotta build that little community around yourself, and from there, I mean, I think we knew already, but off to the races. U.S. Amateur Champion, second in Amateur Worlds, winning the D1 National Championships, Collegiate Nationals, less than a year later, as we were just
Yeah,
talking a bit off camera, beating my good buddy Evan Cole by,
yeah,
I can't remember, was it a couple strokes? One stroke.
one.
One stroke. Oof. And I gotta tell you, I asked Evan if there was anything in particular I should ask you. If that's the only dirt digging I did, I promise. I mean,
Yeah,
I asked Evan,
right.
what was it like playing with Robert a little while ago, and he had a really good question actually that had me very curious looking at some of the footage. You
Yeah.
made some critical step putts, especially at the end with the step at D1
Mhm.
National Championships at the Collegiate Nationals.
Mhm.
But when it came down to clutch time at Des Moines, we saw more of a straddle, kind of like a hop. Is that just about your positioning of your feet, or have you kind of decided I'm going to go in more for the jump putt than the step putt?
So recently, I've been going toward the jump putt. This was actually the first or second tournament I'm really using the jump putt. It allows me to get a little more spin on it, a little more loft than the step putt, and also allows me, if I do miss to stay closer to the basket. I can also, I'm not putting as much power on it, so I can manipulate it a little bit better. So the jump up for me was just making the outside circle one putts a little bit more consistent and a little more workable.
Yeah, I think that you're thinking kind of the next step beyond where a lot of people are when they're sitting or standing on their lie. You're thinking about, if I have to throw another, where's that coming from? You're not only thinking about making, you're not only thinking about missing. You're planning the contingencies. It makes a lot of sense to me that more lofty style putt would land and sit a little better. Has the tour been feeling like pretty comfortable for you? I mean, I think that especially doing it between semesters at school, I mean, you are moving all over the place. I think you're back in Houston now. You're going to be back in Ann Arbor for the fall, I would assume, to finish your degree in December, to graduate in December.
Yep.
So
Yes.
what's it been like getting on to tour? I know that you're planning on going more fully on tour next season. What's it felt like, and what have been some of the highlights, some of the lowlights?
So starting out, I think I studied abroad all of June basically, and so was that June? Yeah, that was June. And then coming back in July, I had a family trip taking me a couple weeks where I didn't play a ton of disc golf either. And then coming back, I had about a week before Depot. And I practiced that. I felt really good going in, and I really didn't have the greatest performance, and that didn't feel great. And I sort of use that as a, okay, you're good, but you're now on tour against everyone else who's been working hard all year. I then played an A tier, the CCR Open, the flip side to the Mid America the same weekend.
Yep.
So
a well-respected tournament.
Again. Yeah, or head back to Mid America. Stayed at CCR, had a great first round, great last round, but had a kind of questionable second round, which is on video and will come out at some point. Thank you to Nate Davis Disc Golf.
All right.
Which you will see me miss a 10-footer on hole 2.
Yeah, you get enough holes on film, that happens, You get enough holes on film. I cannot tell you how much I've cut out of all these videos I make.
Mm-hmm. And then, from that going to Ledgestone, I felt like I had a solid game plan going in, didn't play as well as I wanted at Eureka Temp, and then just got roughed up by Northwood for a round and a half, with a good half round kind of snuck in there.
Mm-hmm.
And missed the cut, but really thought to myself, I'm putting well, I'm throwing well, I'm just sort of taking some bad kicks, taking some unfortunate spots. Nothing is really going my way. But I had some great cards there. I had a fun time, and that was almost the first time I've been in a spot where I'm like, all right, you may not be doing great, but you're having a lot of fun in the process. And that was my, the weekend before Des Moines, my sort of calm down moment where it's like, you may not do well all the time. That's okay. Just enjoy the ride, because you never know at what point, you won't be able to do this anymore. And that was a big thing for me in Des Moines where, tied for first, lost in a playoff. My goal was to have fun every round, and I got 2 great cards and really, had the time of my life and just played relaxed, played loose. Was lucky enough to have Stacy Ronsley be with me for the last round and a half. She's a great person, great, caddy to have, and really sort of just played my game and just trusted the process.
Yeah, and you should continue to trust it, because not if you're absolutely right. You've got to enjoy the process if you're ever going to enjoy the ends. And with the thing like disc golf, sometimes injuries take people out for a little while. Sometimes, you can really have some issue where it takes you out for a long time. So even though you're only 21, I think that that's a great perspective to have on the game. You've got a lot of disc golf ahead of you if you take care of your mind and body. So with that in mind, do you have a vision of the future beyond this, beyond graduating? I mean, I imagine that you're probably into selecting classes and they're coming up, and you're very near the end of your degree, which I believe is in movement science.
Yes, in movement science. So really, so after I graduate in December, I plan on going on tour for all of 2023.
Yeah, that one.
Next year. I lost track of time, man. I plan on going on tour all year next year, seeing where that takes me, and really, as long as I, continue to enjoy the game, continue to enjoy what I'm doing, I don't really see a reason why I should stop, because, life is about enjoying where you are.
Cool. I gotta tell you, I don't know if you've run into this at all, but there is another Robert Burridge on YouTube who is prolific.
The painter?
Yes. Yeah, I was wondering if you'd run into that.
Yeah, I have. If you search my name, he usually comes up first.